Dear children, welcome to all of you. This is Kakuli ma'am here, and today we are going to discuss the second chapter of your textbook Hornbill, which is We Are Not Afraid to Die If We Can All Be Together, written by Jordan Cook and Alan East. Now, this chapter is an exciting account of a family's experience at sea. It not only underlines the difficulties that mariners often face at sea, but also brings out poignantly the spirit of togetherness in a family who are prepared to brave death together. Now, the story also suggests that optimism helps to endure the direst stress. How? That we will see in this story. Now, before we move on to the chapter, it is important that you are acquainted with the terminologies associated with a ship or a big boat. Now, at page number 20 of your textbook, you will find similar kind of a picture, and you can understand the parts from there as well. Let us quickly see what are the parts of the ship. The main parts, that is the mast, then you have the jib sail, then you have jib stay, then hull of the ship, and then you have the starboard, okay, here, and you also have the mainsail, then boom, stern, rudder, etc. So this will help you to get a better understanding of the chapter, and let us now quickly discuss the main characters of the chapter, including the boat, which plays a very important role, of course. The name of the boat is Wave Walker. It is 23 foot long and it weighs 30 ton. And the main characters in the chapter is the author himself is Jordan Cook, a 37-year-old businessman, his wife Mary, his daughter Suzanne, she is just 7 years, and his son Jonathan is 6 years. Apart from these four characters, we also have two crew members who are Larry Vigil, an American, and Herb Siegler, who is a Swiss. Dear students, this is a photograph of Jordan Cook and his family, where you can clearly see the four members of the family. And let me inform you, barring this picture, whatever photographs you will come across in this video, they bear no resemblance with the real life journey of Jordan Cook. They have been given just for your better understanding. Now let me come to the chapter. It says, in July 1976, my wife Mary, son Jonathan 6, daughter Suzanne 7, and I set sail from Plymouth. This name is important. Plymouth is in England. Okay, so they commenced their journey from Plymouth, England, to duplicate the round the world voyage made 200 years earlier by Captain James Cook. Now, Captain James Cook, you must have heard the name. He was a very famous explorer, and he had made the world tour, which was 200 years ago. And Jordan Cook wanted to duplicate the same voyage, so he started from Plymouth, England, where he was with his family, his daughter, son, and his wife. Now, for the longest time, Mary and I, a 37-year-old businessman, had dreamt of sailing in the wake of the famous explorer, and for the past 16 years, we had spent all our leisure time honing our seafaring skills in British waters. Now, if you carefully note, United Kingdom is surrounded by water on all sides. So, they actually improved and sharpened their seafaring skills. Okay, that is traveling by sea. Seafaring means traveling by sea. So they improved their seafaring skills to encounter whatever problems they would come across in their voyage, which would be to duplicate the round the world voyage made by Captain James Cook. Okay, and for the past 16 years they had been trying their level best to prepare a boat, okay, and improve their skills. Dear students, it is important that you understand the map so that it will be easier for you to understand the chapter as well. Now here is Plymouth, which is in England, and they set sail from this place, okay, and by the other side they reach Cape Town, which is in Africa, okay, and that was a journey of 105,000 kilometers. Now why is this important? Let me discuss. Now as soon as they reach Cape Town, they had to move towards the east, okay, and here you have Southern Indian Ocean. And this ocean is considered to be one of the most roughest seas, one of the roughest seas of the world. Understood? So when they reached Cape Town, they had to hire 2 crew members to help them to tackle or to handle the roughest sea of the world that they would be crossing next. So they had to take 2 crew members that we will very shortly come to know about. So this is the map where you can see this is the first voyage of James Cook, okay. This was the route that he had taken to complete his round the world voyage, right? Now the second paragraph says, our boat Wave Walker, a 23-meter 30-ton wooden hulled beauty. A beautiful description of the boat. It is important from examination point of view as well. Had been professionally built, that means it was built by professionals, and we had spent months, okay, so they had spent months fitting it out and testing it in the roughest weather we could find. That means this is the boat Wave Walker, which is 23 meter in length and 30 ton in weight, okay, and it was built by the professionals. It had a lot of fixtures and it was tested in the roughest weather that they could find, right? Now the first leg of our planned 3-year 105,000 kilometer journey passed pleasantly as we sailed down the west coast of Africa to Cape Town. Now their journey can be divided into 3 main phases, and this is the first phase. That is why it is said the first leg, okay. So the first phase went quite pleasantly as they sailed down the west coast of Africa to Cape Town. I have already shown Cape Town in the map, so you will be able to identify the place in the map and it will be easier for you, okay. There, before heading east, we took on 2 crew men, American Larry Vigil and Swiss Herb Sailor, okay. So they had to take the help of 2 crew members, Larry Vigil and Herb Sailor, to help them tackle one of the world's roughest seas, the Southern Indian Ocean, that I had already told you that it is considered to be one of the world's roughest seas, okay. So in this picture, Larry Vigil and Herb Sailor, they accompanied Jordan Cook to tackle the Southern Indian Ocean. So let us read page number 14 now. On our second day out of Cape Town, we began to encounter strong gales. Strong gales means strong winds. For the next few weeks, they blew continuously. Gales did not worry me, but the size of the waves was alarming, up to 15 meters, as high as our main mast. Now, it was just on the second day of their journey out of Cape Town that they began to face windstorms. Okay, strong gales means windstorms that continued for a few weeks. But worse than the ferocious winds were the waves. because they rose up as high as the main mast of the ship. I'm sure that by now you know which is the main mast of the ship. So the waves were as high as the main mast. Now December 25th found us 3,500 kilometers east of Cape Town. Despite atrocious weather, atrocious means hostile, one who tortures, okay, not at all in favor of, that is adverse, okay, atrocious weather, we had a wonderful holiday complete with a Christmas tree. So in spite of the atrocious, that is the hostile weather, the family celebrated Christmas on 25th December, okay, and the holiday was complete with the Christmas tree, right? Now the New Year's Day saw no improvement in the weather, but we reasoned that it had to change soon, and it did change for the worse. Now after the Christmas, they expected that the weather would change, but yes, the weather changed definitely. The meaning of reasoned is argued, but we reasoned, but we argued, we expected that the weather would change, and definitely the change we expected for a betterment, but it was just the opposite. It did change for the worse. That means the weather became even worse than before. Now at dawn on January 2nd, the waves were gigantic. Gigantic means huge, very big, okay, big size. We were sailing with only a small storm jib, okay, storm jib, jib is a triangular staysail set forward the mast in a ship, okay, that is the jib. I'll show you a picture of storm jib, and was still making 8 knots. Okay, knot is the unit of speed which is equal to 1 nautical mile per hour, and it is used specifically of ships. Okay, so they were making 8 knots. As the ship rose to the top of each wave, we could see endless enormous seas rolling towards us, and the screaming of the wind and the spray was painful to the ears. Okay, now in this picture you can see a storm jib. So they were sailing with only a small storm jib and was still making 8 knots. Knots I have already told you. Now the ship moved to the top of each wave. Now here the ship was on top of the wave, but the gigantic waves, that means huge waves, and the menacing winds continues to terrorize them. Okay, and from this position you can see that from this position they could see, they could have a a better view of the whole scene, and from a distance the huge waves, they were approaching their boat. Okay, and that was really terrorizing. Now let us see what did they do to deal with such a condition. They wanted to slow down the boat. Now what were the things that they did to slow down the boat? Let us see. To slow the boat, we dropped the storm jib. This is the first one. They dropped the storm jib and lashed a heavy mooring rope, okay, in the loop across the stern. By now you know what is the stern. Okay, so these are the two things. Then third one, then we double lashed everything. Okay, now what is mooring rope? That they dropped the storm jib to slow the boat, and in addition to it they lashed a heavy mooring rope in the loop across the stern. Understood? Then they fastened everything. Then what else did they do? This is the picture of life raft. Okay, then went through their life raft drill and attached lifelines and put on oilskins and life jackets. I'll show you. Now these are life jackets, as you can see. So they put on their life jackets. Now the question arises, what precautions did they take? Then we double lashed everything. Okay, went through our life raft drill, number 1, attached lifelines, number 2, donned oilskins. Donned means wore, put on. Okay, so this is the third one, and life jackets and waited. So oilskins means heavy cotton cloth, waterproofed with oil. Okay, so donned I have already told you, that is put on, and stern is the back part of a ship or a boat. Okay, so these are the precautions that they took, and then they waited. Now let us come to the next paragraph, which says the first indication of impending disaster came at about 6 p.m. Impending means approaching. Okay, forthcoming. Impending disaster, all of you know, a calamity, came at about 6 p.m. with an ominous silence. Ominous means evil. Okay, ominous means evil. Ominous also means, it's unpleasant and threatening silence. If you have noted any time, maybe you have experienced that just before a thunderstorm, at times nature comes to a standstill. Not a single leaf of a tree moves, and what kind of a silence, that is difficult to express. So that kind of a silence is called an ominous silence. And then after some time, you find from a distance heavy rain is approaching. So before that rain, that silence is too dangerous, as if it is it is an indication of a disaster which is about to happen. Okay, so this is ominous silence. The wind dropped. Okay, and the sky immediately grew dark. Then came a growing road. Students, please try to visualize the whole situation. It will be easier for you to understand. The wind dropped. There was no wind, no strong wind blew anymore, and the sky immediately grew dark, as if the whole sky was overcast with dark clouds. Okay, so whether it was really a cloud or not, that we will see in the next lines to come. Then came a growing roar. That means a huge sound could be heard, and an enormous cloud towered aft of the ship. Okay, and there was a huge cloud. Enormous means very big. Huge cloud towered of that ship. Okay, with horror I realized that it was not a cloud. Okay, acha, we forgot. Of means near the stern of the ship. Near the stern of the ship there was a huge cloud which towered. That means which was almost engulfing the whole ship. With horror I realized that it was not a cloud but a wave like no other I had ever seen. It appeared perfectly vertical and almost twice the height of the other waves, with a frightful breaking crest. Okay, so now here the wind stopped and the sky became dark. Then a loud roaring sound was heard and a huge cloud. Okay, it was not a cloud, you can see in the picture, it is a wave actually. Okay, the cloud seemed to tower over the ship, and it was in fact the biggest wave that they had ever seen. And not only that, the wave was perpendicular and almost twice as high as the other waves that could be seen. Students, you can see this is a wave with breaking crest. Okay, so the top portion of the wave is called a crest, and which is breaking, and if the ship is within the grip of this wave, then it will destroy the ship as well. So this is a wave with breaking crest. Now the roar increased to a thunder as the stern moved up. Stern, it is the back end of the ship. Okay, the stern moved up, that means the back end of the ship was now lifted along with a wave and the face of the wave, and for a moment I thought we might ride over it. So the author thought that like the other waves, this one also will go away and he would ride over it and be safe. But then a tremendous explosion shook the deck. Now the wave actually hit Wave Walker. Okay, and it was for the worst. Let us see what happened after the explosion. A torrent of green and white water broke over the ship. Now a torrent of green, a fast moving stream of water, it smashed the deck. That means it hit the deck of the ship, and a torrent of green and white water broke over the ship. My head smashed into the wheel and I was aware of flying overboard. And in this situation, he was thrown overboard by the water and he was sinking below the waves. So he was thrown overboard and he was sinking below the waves. Okay, I expected my approaching death, and as I was losing consciousness, I felt peaceful. Now here the writer, the author, he actually surrenders. Okay, as long as we try to survive and we struggle, then we are under tremendous stress, anxiety. But as soon as we realize that there is nothing else that we can do to survive, and then we surrender it, so we feel some kind of peace. Okay, so he felt like his death was very close to him and he was losing his consciousness, and there was nothing else that he could do to help himself. Okay, so this was unexpectedly my head popped out of the water. Okay, now suddenly his head moved out of the water. A few meters away, Wave Walker was near capsizing. It was about to sink. Capsizing is sinking. It was about to sink. Her mast was almost horizontal. Right? In this picture, you can see the mast is horizontal. Okay, it is almost parallel to the surface of water. So it is just before sinking. Okay, so it was very close to sinking. Now Wave Walker was near capsizing. Capsizing is be overturned in the water. Her masts almost horizontal, that I told you. Then a wave hurled her upright. Okay, hurl means throw with a great force. Then another wave came and made it erect, that is straight. My lifeline jerked taut. I grabbed the guardrails and sailed through the air into Wave Walker's main boom. Okay, taut means stretched or pulled tightly. Boom is the pole that controls the angle and shape of the sail. Understood? Now scramble means climb. Claw one's way. Hatch is the door. So he ultimately came back to the Wave Walker, and I grabbed the guardrails and sailed through the air into Wave Walker's main boom. Subsequent waves tossed me around the deck like a rag doll. This is a very beautiful sentence in this chapter which I like so much. Okay, now a rag doll is made up of rags. Okay, it is very insignificant, and just as a person tosses the doll into the air and it feels so helpless. Similarly here also, at this situation, Jordan Cook, that is the author, he was feeling so helpless. He was being tossed by the waves from one place to another, and not only that, he was very severely injured. He collided against different parts of the boat and he received severe injury. So he compares himself to a rag doll. My left ribs cracked because as a result of that he collided with the planks of the boat. So his ribs cracked, his mouth filled with blood and broken teeth. Okay, and somehow I found the wheel, lined up the stern for the next wave and hung on. Now he behaved as a captain of the ship. Okay, and in such a crisis also he did not lose his determination and courage. Okay, so that is what the story teaches us a lesson. That's where it teaches us a lesson that even in direst stress, if we can keep our nerve cool, then things will become definitely all right. The next line says, water, water everywhere. I could feel that the ship had water below. Water everywhere, it's a very famous sentence. Water everywhere, all the boats did shrink. Water everywhere, not a drop to drink. So this is just a part of it. So I could feel that the ship had water below, but I dared not abandon the wheel to investigate. So he did not have the courage to abandon the wheel, to he wanted to attend the wheel at least, to steer the ship. Investigate is to examine. Now let us wind up here up to this. In the next class we will continue. Thank you children. Stay safe.